All righty, guys. Well, I want to thank you all for sitting in on today's presentation. We're going to talk today about going paperless in the construction office and how mobility plays into leveraging more of your P-Vault imaging system for both accounts payable and possibly bringing it more into the operations side of your business. My name is Chris Jordan. I'm the president of eRIS Corporation. So we're the central and eastern United States resellers and implementers of paperless. Many of you guys kind of know the Jordan family with Steve and Scott, who might be contacted you before. But what we're going to talk about today, this might be a little bit of a refresher, but I thought that these points were probably good for what we're going to talk about today, which is going to be leveraging this new interface application for your P-Vault system. Well, just to give you a little bit of a brief overview of where we've been at over the last 6 months or so, is that we've been soft launching a mobile portal application called eNTERFACE into about 25 different clients, paperless users that are using paperless for various functions, and that had mobile initiatives that wanted to partner up with us and develop a product that served the needs of the paperless user in the construction industry. And that's really what we did. Essentially what we found out is that a lot of companies have a mobile initiative, but there were some things, some pitfalls to think about that we had kind of exploring, getting less out of the more out of the imaging world and more into the mobile world. We found out a couple of things to talk about if y'all have a mobile initiative in your business or are looking to do a little bit more with iPhones and iPads on the field or Android devices. Is a couple of things. One is a term that everybody probably needs to start learning a little bit about, but it's BYOT. Bring your own technology. For some of our older contractors that haven't maybe bought smartphones for everybody yet or don't have iPads in use, the younger generation is bringing them into the office and using them, and they may go download their own apps and whatever might serve their particular job pattern. But the issue is that, and the risk of that, is that they might be on different platforms that might be against IT's needs. Like IT might be planning an Apple rollout, and they're bringing their Android devices and downloading things through the Google Play Store. So BYOT can work in your advantage. They already have products that they can use and bring from home, but it might cause IT a little bit of a headache. So there's one of those things that you got to be a little cautious about as far as what's your corporate policy about bringing different technologies into the workforce. The other thing to think about is the idea of an app. The mobile app is, apps were designed, obviously with Steve Jobs in mind, this personal use idea where we all download apps that serve our own interests and likes. The idea of using that same model in corporate use, though, is a bit scary because, A, getting people to use our accounting or project management system is hard enough. Having to let them roll out whatever apps they want and try to manage that corporately is almost unfeasible. And that's why we really believe that Interface could be a usable, constructive roadmap for any company's corporate initiative. And the reason for that is that it's driven by forms, mobile forms that can be filled out on a desktop computer with for HR's new hires or vacation requests, just as easily as they could be filled out from a user's smartphone, maybe taking a picture of that credit card receipt or receiver ticket or job photo, filling out that inspection report. All that can all be filled out and managed from one enterprise mobile portal, and that's exactly what Interface is. The big advantage of Interface, though, is that it's integrated. It's integrated to both the data that comes out of your project management and accounting systems, but it also integrates seamlessly into P-Vault. So as we start submitting forms in from the field, we can not only archive them in P-Vault for later searching, but we can also call business rules for document matching or routing for other reviews from within the company. So that power of integration shouldn't be kind of passed over, because if you think about the alternative, I can fill out a great form on a generic app, but if it just goes to an email inbox that someone has to drag in and still do the indexing, it's almost, you're just prettying up whatever scan you're putting in the system. That's really what we're trying to tackle, is that we want to create simple technologies that are easy to implement or common sense to implement, and it still is consistent with this corporate single app structure that a lot of people are looking for. The big question to ask is, if I'm going to go do all this mobile initiative, where does all the information inevitably end up? And if the answer to that question is somewhere in the cloud, we think, versus on our file server underneath our locking D&T vault, you can see the difference there is that one we have control of, the other we might empower our end users to have a little too much control of it. So that's a little bit of just kind of high-level overview. This is the eNTERFACE logo. If you've seen that on the brochure and some of the marketing material that we sent out, this is eNTERFACE. It is a mobile portal. We're a couple of questions when we catch people with mobile initiatives is they're usually asking these questions. In eNTERFACE, we built to check all the boxes. A lot of companies are looking to build forms, whether it's for new hires or in something more operational driven like daily reports. That's really kind of the core of the application. What type of devices do I need? Are we going to all go Android? Are we going to all go Windows Phone or iPhone? Those are big questions that we have to consider. But at the end of the day, sometimes it's a mix. Sometimes we go iPhones in the field, but we also have Android pads or Windows Phone pads. So we've got to start looking at applications that work on different platforms and maybe don't limit the initiative if we're not ready to make such a huge investment in hardware by buying everybody the same version phone. What type of connectivity do I need? Is my company working in downtown Miami or Houston where I never have any issues getting 4G cell service? Or am I digging tunnels in the middle of nowhere? These are connectivity questions that might be important to you if you're looking at web apps versus unconnected apps. The good news is that eNTERFACE checks both boxes. It's fully integrated to your data, but it can be taken offline, which is a big question that usually IT likes to ask or operations like to ask because they know that not every job site has that really strong internet connectivity or cell service. I talked a little bit about multiple apps versus the single app, enterprise app mentality, which is what eNTERFACE has. We believe that's very important. The actual byline for eNTERFACE is one for all, one app for all your processes, one app for all your individuals. So whether I'm the owner taking a picture of my receiver ticket on my smartphone or my credit card receipt, or the field guy taking a picture of an incident and documenting that for the project manager to see. All this is all working off the same app, and it can really be one app for all your processes. And lastly, can I get my guys to actually use the technology in the field? The million-dollar question that we're starting to see, companies trying to do large initiatives, it can be very difficult, especially if it's more, we'll try it on a few jobs. I'll give you one example just to kind of show you the different needs. We have some clients that want to go straight iPad in the field, and we have a client doing that. It's a little scary, but they submit nearly 100 forms a day into pVault. We have another company that doesn't really trust any of their guys out in the field, but what they do have them do is they fill out hand forms, handwritten inspections and delivery tickets and everything else. But what they have is they created one form, and it has two questions on it. One is, what form is this? And it's a drop-down list of all their selections that are available to them. And two is, take a picture of it. And just by implementing that very simple process, they can take a picture of the handwritten form and submit it back based off the document type and the job number that it came in on. It's going to go to the right person for review, and it's based on the form. It's going to go for whatever work process it might need to accommodate. That didn't shake up the field's process. Everyone in the field knew how to take a picture of things because obviously they use that on their day-to-day. But that's a very common sense, very simple way of implementing eNTERFACE, and it does away with all the lag time and frustration of getting in those forms from the field. So just about anybody can implement eNTERFACE successfully, and we try to make it simple from that perspective. So last, just some quick facts before I jump into the product. First, eNTERFACE is a mobile portal, and what that means is that it's a hybrid application. It is fully mobile, which means you can go to the Google Play Store and download it and work with it unconnected. You can download it from the Apple Store unconnected as well, depending on what, obviously if you're on Android or iPhone. But it's also a portal, and what that means is it's a platform for companies to maybe start with the forms, but maybe they're going to move it into more of maybe a service work order management system or a pre-qualification for their vendors. We're in the process right now of developing a billing portal that we're hoping to come out with later in the year that'll serve not just pre-qualification for subcontractors, but also an ability to be able to have them upload their invoices and pay apps and have those go into the accounts payable module. So you can really take eNTERFACE and build on it whichever whatever applications or ever how broad you want to take the application. But because it's a hybrid mobile portal, it has both, it checks both boxes of web app and mobile app. Interface works on any device, obviously, through internet connectivity. If you ran it as a web app, all you need is Safari or Google Chrome to run that. But you can also run it, as I said earlier, through downloading the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. Interface at its core is a form builder. You can build any forms for any processes and roll them out to the field, deploy it out to users very simply. But it is the enterprise business app, one app used for every one of your processes, and then I'll kind of explore that a little bit. Now, to bounce out of here and actually get into the software a bit, I'll go ahead and call it up. And here's the general entry screen for Interface. When I log in with my username and password, I'm going to see unfinished forms that I might be working on. So if I was using maybe doing an inspection or a daily report that maybe I'm continually monitoring activity on the job site, I can kind of dock those forms as continual forms I'm working on and then submit them later at the end of the day once the report is complete. And I can quickly access those from the dashboard. The other thing that we have to offer from the dashboard is routing. Although we have DocRoute and AP Flow routing in pVault, we can also route live forms within the Interface application, which is important if we maybe need a project manager to scrub maybe a report done by a field guy or whatever the workflow might require. We can route these forms. And it's very easy. If I want to come and see a form that was routed to me, I can simply hit open here and then see the actual form detail for site conditions. I can see the weather conditions here, all the descriptive information that was maybe put on it by the field superintendent. I see Beaverton, 3 people from Beaverton were on the job site finishing painting, 6 from Jackson Heating installing outside units. I could see rentals and comments. All this is an actual live form that's ready for submission. So when I come back, if I'm kind of the layer of cursory review here for the form, I can open it up, and then when it comes to submission, I can reroute it to somebody for further viewing, or I could actually come in and actually submit that form. And when I submit that daily report, it can now go directly into pVault. You see successfully submitted form to paperless. So now that form is actually sent to the imaging system pVault, and it can do one of a couple of different things. One is it can go directly into the system for archiving without any scrubbing, which as we found out, a lot of companies don't feel too confident with the field being able to put things directly into the filing cabinet. So as I log in here, I'll kind of show you where that form ends up. So what usually companies do is they leverage a few features in the new pVault 5 application to quality control the actual device, quality control the actual forms that come in. So I'll go ahead and call pVault up here and get logged in. And a couple other things I kind of breezed over a little bit earlier, but we can actually leverage email. So if we wanted to have email notifications going out whenever a daily report's generated, we can send simple emails to maybe the project manager or maybe the owner on the project if we wanted to set that up. That's very simple, and for companies that want to leverage that type of functionality, we can do that. In pVault 5, we have user queues that are set up that we can define for various purposes within the company. For example, I could have one for credit card receipts or purchasing and receiving. For this example, I actually had an interface queue that was designed to capture daily report information. So here's that daily report that was routed to me as the project manager, and then I submitted it into the field or submitted it into pVault for indexing and archiving. So it went straight into a queue that I had set up for daily reports. And then I can now just scrub it if I wanted to, but you see it's already indexed into the system. All the job number, job name's already put on, the date. All I have to do is hit index, and that daily report is now in the system, archived for storage purposes. So that's as simple as it is to get things into pVault for storage and archiving purposes. Now, for this example, we also have another option. Not only can we get things seamlessly into the system, but we can also offer the ability for the forms to call routing scenarios. If you're familiar with pVault, which I think a lot of you guys are existing users, we have an application called DocRoute, which is a very simple, on-the-fly type routing scenario. But what we can do in pVault 5 is we can actually predefine workflows. So, for example, that was a daily report that I just sent in for the Northwest Foods warehouse job. Well, I had an automatic business rule already set up that said every daily report that comes in for that job, that Northwest Foods warehouse job, 03-001, needs to go to these two individuals, maybe the VP of construction, maybe the owner just like to see things, daily reports. This is a little different from AP routing. This is more cursory review, so we can use this for more operational stuff, job photos and such. So I come through here, I can see the sequence, and now I know that the administrator is going to get it first as soon as it was indexed by possibly the receptionist. So now I'm going to put that administrator's hat on. I got notified via email that the daily report was available, and now I can come in, and maybe it's my responsibility to log this for certified payroll or maybe some scheduling processes. When I go to my document index routing inbox, that daily report is sitting there in my inbox ready for me to take care of action, maybe notate it if I needed to do so. But if you appreciate what I just demoed there, and I kind of defined the process a little bit, so hopefully it wasn't too much there. But I was able to generate a daily report from the mobile app, submit it seamlessly into paperless for archiving and storage. It was already indexed, so nobody had to do any of that data entry. And then once it was indexed, I had a business rule underneath the hood that had the daily report walk through the proper channels that I deemed a corporate work process. All that was done seamlessly. No one had to touch a single piece of paper, and I could actually do away with the scrubbing process if I wanted to. So that's a little example with daily reports, but you appreciate you can have that same concept and leverage all of this functionality for any work process within your business. So you can really start looking at new hire processes and vacation requests, all those things that involve me printing out a piece of paper and walking it around or sending an email that I lose track of. All that can now be done electronically with the help of paperless environments. Now, I'm gonna bounce back and forth here. I see there's a chat there asking about what it looks like on the mobile device. So this is kind of what it looks like, obviously, if you were sitting down at a desktop. The reason that we like this application is it actually molds to fit whatever device it's on. So if it's on an iPad, it looks kind of like this. If it's on a smartphone, it's tailored to look like this. Obviously, if it's a true app, if they're running it unconnected, it looks a little bit different. It looks a little bit more like an Apple app or an Android app with a black screen. But this is kind of how it scales to fit whatever device it's on. So you can imagine being on the phone, you can quickly open this unfinished form and continue filling it out. So that's one reason that we really like this application, because it did scale to fit whichever device it was actually used for. Now, a couple of other things, just to kind of define this mobile portal, is that it is at its core a form engine, a form builder. So what we actually have in it, just kind of as a service to people that are actually using it, is we actually built a form wizard, which makes setting up forms very easy. It's question and answer based. So for example, I'll go to that daily report that I just submitted in, and I'll go edit it and show you. I'm going to kind of work in reverse because this one's already filled out. Obviously, I would start at the beginning and then move forward. But from this point of the screen, I can see this one's already completed. So I've got all my categories and questions down here that apply to this daily report. I can make forms routable. I can merge documents if we were attaching other images or files to a particular form. I have different roles that I can apply to it, make it active or not. But if I step back an instant, this will actually show you what one looks like. I can go to my different categories of the form, and if you saw in that daily report there were site conditions, subcontractors on the job site, rentals, obviously you would build this to look like your daily report. But if I come to site conditions, for example, let's say, for example, I want to actually add a question type here that was maybe take a picture of the progress. And I just want a progress photo to go into the archive. I could actually add a question here, and that question could be as simple as take a picture. I could put it at the bottom or change the sort order if I wanted to. And then I could add an answer type. And this will kind of make a little bit more sense as we begin walking through some of the other forms for accounting. But I can have a question and answer that could be auto increment. So you'll see this in the field purchase order example. We can auto increment a number for tracking purposes. Whenever we enter in that invoice into AP, we can type in that field PO number and match up all that supporting paperwork. date input, dollar amount. Obviously, these are pretty standard. We also have file upload. A lot of times with purchasing, if we're dealing with a large purchase, especially with our specialty guys, we can actually upload an Excel output maybe out of our purchasing system, attach that to a form, and email the vendor automatically with a mobile form. We can upload a file there. For this one, it would be take a picture. So I do an image upload, and this would call the camera on my smartphone whenever I go and take a picture of the actual job site. It's the same function for credit card receipts. Whenever we want to take a picture of the credit card receipt or the receiver ticket, we're going to have that question, take a picture of the receiver, and do an image upload. Now, it gets a little bit more complicated with integration when we start looking at some of the other functions like list table. List table could pull from an Excel spreadsheet database, which is important because what that can do is that can actually empower you to upload maybe your list of cost codes or list of employees or inspectors. Now you can have that without having to have any robust integration. It can just be a simple integration to a list of people in Excel or a list of materials in Excel, and you don't have to go through all the technicality of setting up those configurations. It's also very easy to upload. You also have buttons, yes, no functionality, and then you have table lookups, which this is actually where we truly integrate to the accounting and project management lists for jobs and cost codes, and I'll show you that in just a bit. So you see setting up a form is very, very simple. You can do it in a couple of seconds, depending on obviously the complexity of the form, but it is very simple to implement. Now, when we start looking at some of the work processes here, I'm going to walk through a couple of examples. Let's walk through the process of maybe somebody generating a purchase out in the field, and we'll take that from the material being delivered on the job site, and lastly, the invoice coming in. If you saw on kind of the mailer that we put out there, one option that a lot of clients are starting to migrate to because they start routing so many invoices is that they may choose to route on the purchase order. And that's important because what they are able to do now is that they can approve A, prior to a purchase and make sure we actually want to purchase that for the job. And then B, can go through the proper channels with project management, or if it's over a certain dollar amount, go through a layer for VP sign-offs if it's over $5,000 or whatever the case. It goes to purchasing, it gets logged in purchasing, and then we generate the PO. That whole process there, when that invoice finally comes in and it matches to the receiver and the purchase order, it's already been approved. And as long as it matches, we're ready for payment there. We can go ahead and put that in the job cost and not have to worry about the delay that maybe invoice routing might cause. Well, if we say that only 20% of our invoices actually have issues with it, well, that'll drastically reduce the amount of invoices that get stuck up in the approval process. So there might be some significant advantage to looking at Interface to maybe reduce some of that volume and get things in the job cost a lot quicker. So let's walk through that example here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be a field guy here, and obviously I'm going to be on my phone doing this. But if I were to come through, I'm going to log into my job list. And appreciate this, when I log in with username and password and log into my job, it's going to automatically put those values on the form, so it kind of reduces some of that data entry. But I'm actually going to fill out a purchase order, and this is going to be a field purchase order request, and I'll show you some of the integration points. One, if you remember that auto increment number, this is it automatically gave it a PO number. Obviously, this could be a 6-digit or a 10-digit number if it was a higher volume, but this is purchase order number 11. I want to buy it today. I want it delivered here by Friday, if possible. And here's the first layer of integration that we offer. It's called Type and Go, but if I just hit it's A1 Electric, so it's A-1, I now have an integrated lookup to my vendor list on this project. So see, there's A1 Electric Company and then their vendor number. That's pulled out of the vendor list in your accounting software. I may put myself as a buyer. Obviously, this wouldn't be mandatory. But I can also put a cost code on here if I wanted to. Now, this is a pretty sophisticated form here. You don't have to put all this information. It can be a little looser here. But I could attach it to a piece of equipment. It's exempt. Oops, I spelled it right. Tax exempt. I could put notes on it if I wanted to. I want to buy 3 of, let's just call it lumber for purposes. And I need to buy 200 of these. Or it's $300. I could duplicate the category if I wanted to. So if I want to add additional material, I could. This one is here. And then I can come into form submission. I could route within the form, within the mobile device itself if I wanted to. You have more controls probably in paperless, but you can do so. If I wanted to route, obviously it's a drop-down list of the people that I can route to. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to submit that form. So I made the purchase out on the field, and I submitted that in. It's now the business rule that I created. It now goes and it maybe gets scrubbed by somebody. Every field purchase order that comes in just gets scrubbed to make sure that maybe the vendor's on it correctly or whatever the case may be. So when that comes into the system, I actually set up a user queue designed to accept anything for purchasing or receiving. So when I go to my purchasing and receiving user queue, let's see, it's got about a minute delay on there. So it'll show up here in just a second. Let's see. Hide this. All right, so now I can call it up here on the screen. So this is that purchase order that I just created. Okay, if I wanted to scrub it here, like this could be maybe reception or somebody in accounts payable, I could see, hey, I think they actually put it on the wrong vendor here. If they could change it and put it there, but all this is integrated. You see it already had the PO number 11 on it. That's the field PO number, the vendor number, vendor name. It was already filled out, and I hit index. Now, I had a business rule set up underneath the hood that said every PO for that job needs to go to a project manager first. As long as he approves it, it then goes into purchasing to actually generate the purchase order and actually put it into the PO system. So me as a project manager, I open up my inbox. Here's that purchase order. I can say, yeah, that's fine. I'll go ahead and release that, put a note on it if I wanted to. Sure. And release it. And now that's out of my inbox. It's been approved. I said it was okay. And now that goes and follows back into the purchasing agent's hands as an approved purchase order for logging. Okay? So now that's how we get those field purchase orders in. No paper was generated. I didn't have to bug accounting to go ahead and scan the field PO, which could be a napkin. I mean, we've seen just about everything with field POs. It's now put into the system. Well, I requested delivery for tomorrow, so now it's tomorrow. I'm the field guy, and I just got that delivery that I ordered. I can come in, and I'm going to say, okay, it's today, or this is Friday now. Description of goods, this was the lumber that I ordered from a particular vendor. Let's just call it that. I can select an image. So obviously if this was on a smartphone, I could take a picture of that credit card receipt right then and there. Here's a little sample concrete haul receiver ticket. Obviously on the phone it works a little better. And then it was purchase order number 11 because that was on the PO. And then when it comes to submission, I just come in here and hit submit. And that now sent that receiver ticket with the PO number on it, because hopefully it would have that on it, and it sent it directly into P-Vault. So just like I showed you a little bit earlier, it's going to go into that purchasing and receiving queue for receiving. For receiver tickets and really credit card receipts in general, if you're using accounts payable workflow, you may not need this whole scrubbing process unless you just wanted to, because we're going to match it up during the accounts payable process. So you have that option there for you if you wanted to do that. But obviously that would then be an option. So let me see. I need to speed up this delay a little bit. Alrighty, so there it is. So now it showed up here. This just came in from the field. There's a picture of the receiver ticket. It's got the PO number on it. If I go to the indexing screen, I see it's already got all the information attached to it, PO number on it, and everything else. So when I hit index, I now put that into the system, and it's now in the system there. So this is now my Thursday and Friday. Monday, we're going to put our AP processor hat on. And now the invoice comes in, right? This is the invoice from A1 Electric. I can come in here and enter in the invoice, put in my vendor, some compliance issues there. This would be lumber. And then I can actually put in that field PO,
But that field PO is actually available for, would be available for lookup here. You see there's field PO number 11. I can obviously do a date, and when it gets into too much data entry here, let's say it's for $300. Alrighty, and then I'll do a new line, job line for Northwest Foods. Sales guys doing data entry, I tell you what. All right, so now when I hit my Documents button, it's going to go out and find, you see it's already matched up. There's the field PO that I just generated out there. And here's the receiver ticket. See, there's for a receiver ticket with the 11. That's the one I want. I hit attach, and now I just made my document pack. So I can review it, make sure that we received what was ordered. I can do that reconciliation here. I could have reconciled it off the PO lines if I wanted to do that as well, but I just matched it my documents, and there's really no need for me to route anymore. I could just hit approve and be done with it and push it over to be imported into job cost. So that is how eNTERFACE can allow you to leverage all of the little features that you have in your accounts payable system with paperless. You think about a day where you'd never have to touch another credit card receipt or receiver ticket, any of that. All that can be automated now from the smartphone just by giving them one app that they can go in there and fill out all their information on. So it's a very powerful product, and it works very nicely with P-Vault for both, obviously, document management purposes, but also just any other purpose that you might be using for, obviously, purchase order routing or accounts payable routing for that matter. So that's kind of how we handle a lot of, I think one of the other examples that we talked about was in the marketing blast was really talking about different ways to leverage that. Obviously, because you can set up all your forms, all these features apply unilaterally to however you wanted to use it. So you can really begin walking around the company and looking at different uses for getting things in, maybe some holes in processes that maybe you struggle with implementing. Let DocRoute and the automation that DocRoute brings in P-Vault 5 handle that work process a little bit better and take that administrative burden off. A couple of real quick things about eNTERFACE. You appreciate, obviously, if they're using it in the web mode, they're using it here through the mobile app. They can come in here and hit search. And one of the issues that we see a lot with paperless users is that they just don't have the ability to get P-Vault out to job sites. And really, the field probably doesn't need to look at half the stuff that's in P-Vault, but they do want to look at maybe forms that were generated on their project, maybe the last couple daily reports, or the last few job photos, or maybe some drawings or something like that that we could maybe route out to that user as an attachment. Well, from the actual mobile device, they can actually come in and search the last few daily reports for a particular job or a cross job, maybe generated by a particular user. And let's just say, for example, that anything with the word cloudy on it, where they could search specific things like that. Well, here's that daily report. They can look at it in electronic forms. They can see there's cloudy, so that's what it read off of. Or if they wanted to download it and email it to somebody, they could just click the PDF attachment and view it here on the screen with everything filled out. So it's a very powerful tool. So when we start looking at the complexity of P-Vault and how it works with the mobile environment, we still want it to be our back office repository for all of our images. But we have now the opportunity to throw this out through a 3G or 4G internet connection, and the field can now get to all the job photos and all the information that they may want to see pertaining to their project. So all this actually works from within the application itself with the searching. Now, I've covered a little bit of kind of how the forms process and how we submit in, the searching aspect. But one thing that I haven't touched on is the power of eNTERFACE. eNTERFACE has the ability to be your company's single user interface. And there's no pun intended on that word. We have been, over the last 6 months, have been in development with several of our larger P-Vault clients, coming up with very realistic, very constructive ways of implementing apps for different purposes within the construction industry and within some of the other industries as well. Just to kind of show you an example of this, we are actually going to be announcing the app market here coming within the next couple of weeks. And in that app market today, there's several different applications that will be available for purchase for obviously a reduced rate, just because you'll be an eNTERFACE user if y'all decided to, if anyone here decided to purchase it. but we have a timesheet program that we can actually go and from the smartphone do time entry. I'll say this, the time entry program was designed to be simple. It was designed to be used. There's plenty of other timesheet applications on the market. The beauty of this is that if you're paying $400, $500, $600 a month, maybe $1,000 a month, well, you don't have to do that anymore if you use our timesheet, because it could be just another add-on to this application that you've already purchased. Training video is another app. I didn't want to get too much into these applications, but there's some very, very constructive ways of doing this. This is a new training app that we're announcing, but for companies that want to do a lot of OSHA training or maybe training on corporate policies and things like that, this is a little training app that you can publish out videos to. They can watch it on their smartphone. This obviously isn't applicable to everybody in the company or everybody here in the demo, but once I've gone and watched through the video, I can actually skip through or I can't skip through the video, but once I'm done with it, I can take a test, rewatch a video, and submit answers, and that can generate a certificate that then goes and drops into pVault as part of that employee file, as a certified, I've watched the video and passed the test. So just little applications like this that we're rolling out are going to be part of it. Now, this is another application that has broader context. This is one that we worked on early last year. This is the same portal, just a little different look and feel. This is kind of what the client wanted. But this is actually a subcontractor portal. We sell eNTERFACE with an option for unlimited users. So that means if we faced it to 5,000 of your subcontractors, we could do that. Well, what it does is it self-registers, and then they can come in. You can imagine as a subcontractor, I can come in and fill out and get pre-qualified here by filling out all my information. And this can generate a large file that we can then drop into the pVault imaging system for archiving. But we can also search across this data. So if I'm looking for contractors with certain bonding rates over certain floors, if I'm building high-rises, all this is now fair game. Now, this is the first step at the subcontractor portal. Once we get them submitting us their information on a regular basis, it's the same tool that we're going to use to actually allow them to upload their information and get paid with the actual billing portal that we're some of you guys we may have contacted already if you're in the meeting, because we're in the process of really designing a very simple solution for our subcontractors so that we can actually go and bring in that information, their billing information electronically, and push it straight into accounts payable. So all of this is going to be part of the eNTERFACE mobile portal. It's a very inexpensive product. It's customizable, so it has universal appeal. But because it's a full-on portal, you can design it and customize it as your single user interface that can work on any of your devices. And that's what we're real excited about for the future. So I'm actually going to kind of stop there and pause for if anybody has any questions, you can hit the little chat line down there, and I'll answer any of them that might come up. But that hopefully I didn't want to take too much of everybody's time, but that's how we implement mobile forms in pVault, is that we can build any form that we require and emulate any workflow within pVault that you might need for various approvals, and get everybody's eyes on it and make sure, and it's all within one central system. And we're real excited about the potential there. One last thing in closing. We are running a big special. Like I said, we have 25 users that are on the eNTERFACE application. We want to try to get to 100 customers by the summer. So we have had about 15 or so people on this webinar. We had 25 yesterday. So we're trying to kind of get as many people that are interested in this, and we are doing kind of a special with unlimited users so you can try it out without any type of limitation there for a reduced fee. So your local sales guy will probably be reaching out to you for that offer if this is something that you would be interested in doing. It is a monthly fee, so you can definitely try it out if you wanted to do that, but your sales guy can give you more information on that as they reach out to you. So I'll pause there. If anybody has any questions, feel free to chat them there. But I'll just kind of answer them as they come. But if not, I appreciate everybody's time being here today. And somebody will probably be reaching out to you to talk a little bit more about our special incentive for this month.